Jake's POV. As I looked around, realizing I was actually able to control my body and that I was awake, it became very clear that I was not in a good situation. Familiar Sentinel, you stand accused of violating royal decree and illegally using the forbidden death magic to kill several members of the Queen's Royal Mages. One large and bright blue female Nume said loudly. She was perched next to another Nume, who was surrounded by several large familiars, the Queen herself. Jake, are you injured? Suma asked over our private connection. She sounded very worried. Yeah, I'm sore, but I think I'm okay. Does the defense have any opening statements before the memory delve begins? The large female Nume asked. A voice I think I recognized spoke up from behind me. I would like to remind the court that we have already proven by a voluntary memory delve performed on Lady Suma and myself that the mages that were killed illegally attacked my team first, killing several members of my squadron. What took place was justified self-defense, not murder. Is that the captain who was with us? I asked Suma. Yes, he survived the attack, and offered to operate as our legal defense. I'm on trial? I asked. My brain finally starting to catch up with a sudden shift. Unfortunately. What happens if we lose? Suma stayed quiet for a moment. We may both be executed, or worse. When she said that, my first instinct was to try and break out of the vines that were holding me in place. I jerked against them, trying to get free, but they barely budged. The female Nume next to the Queen must have noticed because she spoke up. Those bindings have been reinforced with magic, and were created specifically to hold physically powerful familiars. Even one as strong as you will not be able to escape them, and should you attempt to use your magic to break the bindings, the 4 royal mages around you will not hesitate to kill you. Jake, please do not fight them, the captain said. Just cooperate and this will all be over soon. I thought about it for a moment, sighed and relaxed. Good. With all parties now present, we will begin the memory delve, the Nume said, and several others flew over and landed beside my head. They started to perform the ritual, but this time I noticed something different. There was a large crystal ball-looking thing near the Queen, and when the ritual started it began to glow. What's that? I asked Suma, out loud this time, nodding towards the ball. It is a magical device that will allow everyone to see the memories in question, she answered. A viewing crystal. Familiar Sentinel, you will answer every question asked you to the best of your ability, and without lies. Do you understand? The Queen said. I do. Good. Then we will begin. Sentinel, did you utilize death magic? The female Nume said. No. Lies! A voice to my right shouted, but was silenced by the Queen. She looked at one of the Nume performing the ritual next to me. I see no memories of the event in question, Your Majesty, the Nume said. And I cannot find any evidence of tampering within his mind, said the other. We saw the battle during the memory delves of Lady Suma and the other survivors, the angry voice said, but not as loudly this time. Sentinel, can you explain this? Did you alter your memory in some way? The Queen asked, confused. I didn't attack anyone, Queen Ompera. My body was being controlled, I said, looking up at the Queen from the floor. She turned to the crystal ball, and watched it as memories from my conversation with Zachariah in that void played. Actually, everyone was watching that crystal intensely. What is this? Who? When Zachariah said Deja's name, the Queen lost all of her glittering glow, and all her feathers pressed down to her body. She and everyone else continued to watch the crystal until the end of the memory played, and Zachariah and Deja reformed back into a single being. A dragon! Someone behind me yelled. The room filled with confused and panicked voices, until the Queen silenced everyone. Enough! She shouted, and the large pylon that I hadn't seen hidden behind her throne magically lifted into the air, before slamming itself back down with a crash. The room fell dead quiet in an instant. This memory delve is over. Everyone, get out, she declared. Your Majesty? The angry voice from earlier asked. Out! With that, a dozen Nume I hadn't seen behind me all flew out of the room, leaving only Suma, me and the Queen, as well as her guards. Even the female Nume next to the Queen and the captain left. Sentinel, that dragon, do you know who he was? Yes, Queen Ompera, and I guess you do too? She didn't answer me, but instead her eyes began to glow, as well as the eyes of all the guards in the room that I could actually see. Jake, what do you mean? I do not understand. You met a dragon. Is this not a reason to celebrate? Suma asked, confused and slightly worried, over our private connection. That was the Chaos Dragon, I answered. Her glow vanished, just as the Queen's had, and I felt her emotions as she became very worried. I looked around, and one by one, each of the guards was starting to look worried as well. The Queen's eyes stopped glowing. Sentinel, tell us about these memories that this flaming figure Zachariah mentioned. I explained the memories I had seen, about how Zachariah and Deja met, and everything else. They listened closely, occasionally asking questions. Why not continue the memory delve? You can see everything for yourselves, Suma pointed out after a few minutes of me talking. This matter is sensitive. A memory delver is not to be trusted with it, not yet anyway, the Queen said. Please, Sentinel, continue. I resumed explaining, and after about 15 minutes, I told them everything I had seen up until I was summoned here. A heavy silence fell over the room again, as the Queen's eyes resumed their glow. Jake, Suma said for our connection, does this mean you cannot return to your home? Yeah, I said. The reality of it finally dawning on me. Oh man, my mum is going to freak out. Oh frick, I said, and felt my heart starting to race. I can't breathe, I said out loud, starting to panic. The vines suddenly felt like they were choking me. I was getting claustrophobic. I can't breathe. They drew the attention of everyone in the room. Jake? Suma asked, not sure what was happening. Loosen his restraints, the Queen ordered. The vines that were holding me in place loosened, and in my panicked state I started pulling them again. In hindsight, I was probably having a panic attack. I struggled against the vines, and unlike before, they didn't feel as strong. My right arm broke free, and immediately I started pulling the vines off my head and neck as well. He broke his restraints? One of the guards shouted, sounding confused. Hold! Do not attack him, the Queen shouted, as some of the guards in the room began casting spells. At this point, my breathing was ragged and heavy. I don't remember when, but at some point, I started sobbing.